Basin.
Indeed, into Basin we go. The last custom map that we're going to witness in this series. If we go to game number 5, Puppypaw's home map is going to be a standard built-in map. Lipony it is, if I'm not mistaken. But Basin, we go into a map where you do spawn with a sacred site very close to your starting town center, something that many Delhi players love. Quite a lot of berries accessible as well. On the other hand, as you pointed out, Delhi fallen off a cliff ever since the latest patch, and you really get the feel that Vortix's English could have a pretty good matchup against the Delhi here.
Now, this I've just checked the clock. We're a few hours past my last controversial take. It's time for another one. I actually think the way forward for the Delhi is Tower of Victory.
It's not a terrible idea.
I'm just gonna lay that there. I'm just gonna sit that there and walk away. You can do that.
You're saying controversial, but B begs to differ. In fact, we have seen a B game, I think either last week or the week before, where B decided to go Tower of Victory 2 TC play with the Delhi. It was a slow escalation into an unbelievable flow of units. So as you're saying that, Tower of Victory is not as awkward as one might think at the first glance.
Yeah, I actually think, like, for real, it's the way to go. Like, people are still getting baited into the power of Dome of Faith, but think about the nerfs that it took. It lost a 10% on its discounts, so now you only save 60 gold, and on top of that, you have to wait 15 seconds extra. I think the cool thing, actually, about Tower of Victory is that it plays really well into the other element that changed. Think about what you build when you reach Castle now. Delhi used to love Compound the Defender, but Compound the Defender received an indirect nerf through the repair cost for keeps. So more people go in House of Learning. I think House of Learning actually bonds really well Tower of Victory because of the home blades with Man at Arms and Force March. So I genuinely actually think that's the way forward. Like, for Delhi players, look less at Dome of Faith and look more at Tower of Victory.
I agree with you to a certain extent, and also keep in mind that Feudal Age was extended. So obviously with the Delhi, when you go for the Dome of Faith, you also will essentially be boosting your early Castle Age by being able to get those key techs at the beginning of Castle as well. If you extend Feudal Age, you will be getting those techs anyways, so you can get away being a little slower grabbing those techs for the sake of having much more army power to give you control over extra sacred sites, for example. So extending Feudal Age, I think, increases the importance of just being able to buff the heck out of your army, and the Tower of Victory can do that. Now, that doesn't mean that Dome of Faith is useless. In fact, I think it's still possibly going to be the landmark that gets chosen here by Puppypaw. It's still the more popular landmark, but it is for sure the case that the Tower of Victory has become much more relevant than what it used to be.
Yeah, because I think the way you have to look at it is Dome of Faith was really good for optimizing your units early on because you healed them. Well, you can still get that healing. It's a little bit more staggered, but in exchange, what you're getting is a buff to the damage output, right? So, like, the whole logic is that you're making each unit you're making early on more efficient. But it seems like Puppypaw wants to play towards the Dome of Faith. I still think this is a comfortable play in a lot of people's eyes. I do think it leads to a slow escalation, though, which can cripple you somewhat. Of course, we do have to keep in mind that you are saving 60 gold every 45 seconds. But the counter argument is that maybe this type of game, something like a Tower Victory into a double TC play, maybe feels better. And considering the positioning on this map that he has with the spawn, I think he could have got away with that more greedy type of opening.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this map is generally one of those where you can get away with a little bit more greed. The distance between the players is rather big, but it's also the fact that it's very open. So any civilization really, but especially the English, which have a very slow-moving army, it is a risk to move through that middle ground. It's very easy to spot armies incoming, and it's very easy to intercept them. So you also have to consider that fact, and that also makes the starting bases a little bit safer and allows the players to get away with a little bit more greed.
I want to see Vortix is going to go for aggression here, so no kind of quick castle rush that we used to see in the past. Still the possibility down the line for a secondary TC, which I'm actually a very big fan for the English with at the moment, but as an opener, we are just going to get the Council Hall, the racks. Puppypaw is going to gain all that info for free, as you usually do in this situation. Wouldn't be surprised if his opener is just going to be kind of your standardized play into both the Spears and the Horsemen. I typically like to see Archery Ranges added later for the Delhi, unless you're going for that Tower Victory build we were just discussing.
Yeah, he is operating with the delayed Mosque in Dark Age, so as you can see, he has just now started Piety, which he's going to cancel for the sake of grabbing Sanctity. This is one of the more old-school Delhi builds. Players start to work their way towards the Mosque first and then drop off buildings later type of an approach, so they can grab Piety before reaching Feudal Age. It's not really a big deal. For me, I really feel like it's just a matter of style. Some players prefer one, the other players prefer the other. There really seems to be no massive difference between the two, especially when the opponent doesn't necessarily have an easy time picking off your prelates or scholars they are. Like the English, if you're up against the Knights of the French, for example, you prefer to have piety by the time you start moving out with those boys.
Yeah, I think like the delayed timing doesn't hurt you that much against the Lombos just because of how slow the escalation is, but it's definitely critical later on because if there's a good counter to the Delhi amassing scholars early on, it's going to be the English, simply because the Lombos, like any comp that features range units can take you out. However, a key issue we usually see the English suffer from in this matchup is that you're up against a Civ that gathers berries incredibly fast, and they can leverage that additional food into a horseman push to directly counter out those Lombos.
And you have a very slow-moving army, the longbows being slower than ordinary archers even. So if you get caught off guard in the middle of the map here, like we are seeing, then you're going to lose your entire army. There is nowhere to go, nowhere to hide, no choke points to use. There's a risk associated with this push here for Vortix, and you see, 1Puppypaw is going to be patient and then break out once, smash the army of Vortix, unless a miracle happens here for Vortix. I'm a little scared for our red player over here.
No, but I like what Vortix has done. He's playing Feigned Aggression. It's really crafty. He actually is going for a secondary TC. Much preferred approach here, because I think all-inning on Lombos and Spears, so outdated, Lidakor. I mean, it's honestly, it's like you're turning up wearing 2020 fashion at a 2022 expose. Can you just get with the times? We don't do this anymore. We do Feigned Aggression. We build just enough units to actually draw our opponent into addressing it, and then look for eco benefits, which is what Vortix is doing in this game.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is that going for just a standard, good old school longbow spearman push here would have been suicidal on this map. The Delhi, they have the capacity to react to this, as you explained, and if you lose that push in the middle of nowhere, your game is basically gone. As compared to what Vortix is doing right now, as you said, Feign Aggression, this is going to force a reaction from 1Puppypaw, but behind this one, you can get away with a slightly greedier approach, going for 2TC, also will give you quite a lot of safety back at home, because you're going to have the network of castles bonus expanded to a larger area, secure some other resources, so you're setting yourself up long term by essentially forcing 1Puppypaw to first respond to your Feigned Aggression rather than just pushing your base directly.
And I want to address something I said earlier. I accidentally said that we're going to get Spears, Horseman out of 1Puppypaw. I'm an idiot. I know he's up against the English. It's clearly a long stream. I should have said it's going to be archers. You'd never build Spears against the English unless you like losing games. This is just clearly proof that I have identified the line. I will make many mistakes that will not be identified, but this one is clearly too obvious. Instead, 1Puppypaw will go for Archer plus Horseman. A pretty healthy choice here up against what Vortix is fielding, and will be pretty lethal as the game goes on. In a prolonged feudal state, keep in mind that 1Puppypaw is very easily going to get his hands on these blacksmith upgrades. They're actually going to offset a lot of Vortix's ability to stay in feudal for long.
What is more scary for Vortix, I feel, is that he's going to forfeit 2 sacred sites very easily to his opponent, which is the best thing that 1Puppypaw can hope for. And you see, 1Puppypaw, he has no desire to invest into army very heavily either. In fact, he's already banking up a ton of food, and with the help of the sacred sites, he could land a very nice castlage timing for himself. And that's where the Delhi come online. And we've talked about this one. Delhi do suffer a lot from extended feudal ages, but it very much could be a possibility here that feudal age won't be as extended as it is usual nowadays.
No, and also, if you look at the numbers, like 1Puppypaw has invested just enough military to keep the edge, and Vortix done this feigned approach, which means that now, yeah, he's getting his own eco boom, but you have to weigh up, like, what's better value right now? Having this TC, or having double Sacred Site generating 300 gold per minute? Well, long term, the TC. But in the short term, it means that 1Puppypaw can actually reach a very competitive castlage timing, actually vastly exceeding Vortix's timing. And that's when we get into dangerous territory. Things like elephants that could come much quicker. And let's keep in mind that the English don't really handle the new tower elephants that well if they're relying on ranged units. Due to the buffs directly to the ranged armor, you need to go into melee units to counter these now.
Yeah, that's exactly it. As you pointed out, the key difference here is that 1Puppypaw is getting an immediate return for the sacred sites, whereas for Vortix, it is setting him up well long-term, but he's not getting an immediate return for his investment. So as you see, he's currently leading by 3 villagers. That is more than offset by 1Puppypaw's immediate gold income coming from the sacred side. So if 1Puppypaw wants to play a quick game, which he definitely should be thinking about against the English, then this setup is more than satisfactory for 1Puppypaw. He's gonna have an untouched way up to Castle Age, possibly an untouched way to start dropping some elephants. And Vortix, he's going to be lagging behind in Castle Age timing. And look at this, 1Puppypaw already moving out towards the relics, knowing that Vortix is going to have no desire to contest them.
I love this. It's going to be 4 Relic grabs straight away. It's signature player that we started to see coming out frequently in Dry Arabia. PuppyPaw was one of the lead men for this, but right now, Vortix is leading his troops out in the midfield. Timing on this suggests he's not going to be quick enough to stop the Relics from being picked up. You can see, actually, with the build-up, I believe it's about 9 people that PuppyPaw invested into this build-up. Maybe you snipe 1 of these Scholars max, but it should still be 3 of the Relics coming back towards Puppy.
The value is still there, right? Like, at this point, you can't even hope to be able to get all the Scholars back with the Relics, but it's not even about that. It's just making sure that you maximize your upside here, making sure that you get as many Relics back as humanly possible. And you see, Vortix is gonna get decap the Sacred Site, but it's gonna come too late.
Yeah, and the other issue is he spent all that time there. His scout wrap left side, he didn't see the Relic being picked up in the center by the Scholar.
Oh, he's going to miss out the Scholar.
It's criminal what just happened here. Vortix doesn't have the vision. He finally sees it, but can he actually cap close here? It looks like he should be able to move in time. But the Relic is a lot closer to PuppyPaw's base. Sure, he loses the Scholar, but the distance close means that Vortix now has to create a kind of patrol, right? He can't actually back away, or all of a sudden PuppyPaw is going to realize full economical potential within 2 minutes of Castle Age.
And keep in mind that by Vortix staying here, he stays out there in the middle of nowhere with a slow-moving army. So by Vortix trying to deny those Relics, as he might even intercept another Scholar on the left side, he's going to leave his army exposed to men-at-arms that are coming in, exposed to horsemen, possibly even elephants. And PuppyPaw is just looking to take a decisive engagement off the back of this. In fact, as the longbows are moving to the left side, you might as well just yoing the Relics from the middle at this pace.
Yeah, I mean, this is an issue when you play things. Oh my god, no! What?
Oh.
Bye!
I did mention at the beginning of the stream that resources, you don't have 4 of them in this game. You have 5.
What is this vision? PuppyPaw! Like, dude, honestly, MVP of the tournament right now goes to that Scholar, okay? Biggest bait of the weekend. Coming out from 1 Scholar in PuppyPaw's army. Oh my lordy. Not just that, now the impact of this. Your spearmen chased off into the forest, and you left your longbows alone with the wolf that is PuppyPaw and his cavalry battalion.
The 5th resource of the game, information, just working against Vortix over there, missing out on the Scholars, and also Sloth realized that his longbows were attacked by the Knights as well. Such a great positioning here for PuppyPaw, and as you said, the MVP Scholar to buy the time here for PuppyPaw to yoink those Relics. Now the archers working their way towards the base of Vortix, and he finds himself in a very tough spot, because even the central Sacred Site was revoled in the meantime.
I think, in honor of that Scholar, we should name him. What do you think we should call him?
Benny.
Benny? Benjito. I like Benjito. It just sounds, it's more like poppin', all right? Benny's like, I mean, the Muslim already existed. Like, if he wants to be in the finals, he can get here himself. We don't need to, don't give him a free pass. He's capable of it, okay? Benjito sounds more kind of, I like it.
It's swag, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's unique. There's so many Bens in the world.
Or you can just go Benny 1, because Benny was already taken by a different user.
Oh, one of those ones like, yeah, Benny 05268. You're like, why 05268? I don't know. I just couldn't be asked to like type in 1, then 2, then 3, and discover they're all gone. And, oh my god, what are you doing there, buddy? He found the berry line, but he wishes he didn't.
Oh, Castle Age now coming in here for Vortix, trying to catch up over here. He's got an eco lead of 14, but then again, PuppyPaw is sitting on no less than 5 Relics and soon to have 2 Sacred Sites again. And that is a White Tower, if I'm not mistaken, not a 3rd town center, not the King's Palace. It's going to help with the defense, but then again, you're also gonna have exposed pocket ecos like the Hunters on the front. PuppyPaw could easily get some villager picks for himself over here in a matter of seconds.
I'm concerned about the timing here. I think PuppyPaw is close to having home blades, probably about a minute away. The White Tower is going to stabilize him, but the pocket ego is a problem. Once again, vision is the downside, working the other way this time. However, at this rate, with a reinforcement route, he might eventually see it. In the meantime, clash underneath the primary TC as well as the White Tower. Lance is likely to wrap past this looking on the eco. Vortix does get his tech up, but now at risk of being completely stalled in his own base, as half of his villager count likely to go idle here. A great migration to the backside, but a great dive from the man-at-arms as PuppyPaw is balling his way through the base, uncounted by the spear longbow composite of Vortix.
The amount of idle time on the food eco is just massive. The Hunters on the front are being massacred by Knights, and the men-at-arms are just idling all the farmers out here. All the eco advantage that Vortix has had could evaporate in a matter of seconds. Villagers have been slain on the front, And also inside the base of Vortix, there are casualties. 17 longbows and 8 spearmen trying to hold off men-at-arms here. That's not a good look for Vortix, especially not up against 5 relics here of the Delhi.
And that's without home blades and marching drills. Marching drills likely to come soon. It has to be. He went double blacksmiths. It's slept on so often, but if you imagine it, in that fight there, he pinches the lombos and wipes them out. And you don't even have a defense army at that stage because the spearmen are doing diddly squat right now if you're Vortix.
And now the Knights will start roaming the map here. Obviously, very static army over here for Vortix. Does not have walls on the left side. He does have walls on the right, but the left side is open. And this is something that's going to be exploited to the greatest extent by 1Puppypaw. He's going to dive in over and over with the Lancers. He's just going to chip away with the villager pick every once in a while. It's going to be so frustrating for Vortix to deal with.
Oh, no. Surely, Vortix, you know how this plays out. It's Delhi. He built a monastery. He actually built a monastery. It's just rubbing salt in the wound for himself at this stage. And now the Lance are marching, shuts down the eco again. Another issue for Vortix. What's his composition right now? I will call it the snail comp because he cannot react to this play. It's lombos and spears. He needs to switch up. He's trying to prep the knights, but taking into account the loss of villagers, the pressures coming out, it's difficult to see a way in which he's going to be able to escalate to a knight count comparative to the one that the 1Puppypaw is already quickly building up, especially now with tower elephants being added in.
Yeah, tower elephants are coming up, and you see 1Puppypaw is doing something else behind this as well. He's mining stone. He's ready to push this deep into the base of his opponent. He doesn't have the compound of the defender for the discount, but he does have still quite a lot of stone miners out there, and with the power of 5 relics, he might even justify buying some stone to accelerate his castle timing. And we could see a forward keep being dropped in a matter of minutes, really. Possibly even just 1 minute at this pace.
Do you know what's really cool about 1Puppypaw's build? Like, he's only building tower elephants because Vortix is in Castle Age. So he stopped pushing man-at-arms because he's now paranoid that he's going to get countered by crossbows. Crossbows, which, by the way, Vortix isn't even building. And the spears should counter elephants, but have to get on top of them. Like, I see so many issues in the composition for Vortix. 1Puppypaw is kind of like small-brained himself through big-brain himself, where he's tried to move 2 moves ahead, but because he still has so many man-at-arms, he's going to remain competitive, even with this somewhat premature switch into tower elephants.
Indeed, now he's up to 2 tower elephants, men-at-arms still standing strong. His lancers are not really active right now raiding the enemy, partly because Vortix dispatched like 15 spearmen to guard the farmers. Still though, you really have the feeling that 1Puppypaw, even though he's technically behind on army numbers, his unit composition is just stacked with high tier units as compared to a rather lackluster force that Vortix has.
What, you don't like that monk? That monk.
He can heal injured units, okay? You gotta look at the positives.
Maybe his bald head is just so shiny that when the sun is at the apex in the sky, it blinds 1Puppypaw's army.
No, you would just pull back every single injured unit to heal them at the front or heal them at the back, and then send them back to the front. Easy.
What you're saying is the English needs buff. They need the blind monk option, right, from like AoE 1, and it should heal at twice the speed. Boom. We've solved the English. They work. They don't work.
Well,
Not
what works
anyway.
is a forward keep for 1Puppypaw though, because he's ready for it. 870 stone in the bank. The elephants, they've been waiting for this moment, so did the man-at-arms. Here come the villagers. And if this castle goes up on the front, Vortix is gonna be in a terrible, terrible spot. It's a make or break for him, not just for this game, but for the entire set.
You know what might break him? His marching drills is finally being researched. And although he's transitioned to man-at-arms himself, he won't be able to choose where the fight is anymore. First knight riding out is going to try and draw some attention and discover there's a lot of lancers in the area. In the meantime, the marching continues. Trebuchet's now amassing for 1Puppypaw. Interesting choice here. He didn't build the siege behind a keep on the front line. The keep is coming later, but it is coming in hot and fast on the tree line that Vortix is relying on.
Yeah, Vortix might even spot this immediately, but it's not like he can do much against this one. His army, mostly just longbowmen, it is going to struggle against the men-at-arms. It's going to struggle against the mangonels even. And here comes the keep. You gotta fight this one if you're Vortix.
Tower Elephant's going to stand their ground. Limited Spearman not able to really hold here. Second wave finally coming in. The Tower Elephants aren't unfazed though. Man-at-arms clashing up against it. The home plays. The keep building up in the meantime. And the Maga now just slaying on in to the Lombos diving in deep. Most spears gone. Longbow mass mainly making up the army remaining for Vortix. And 5 Tower Elephants in the field now for 1Puppypaw on their way to the front line. And the Scholars are here to offset the limited damage he achieved so far.
scholars are gonna be the main target here for Vortix. He picks off most of them, but the price is high. He's going to get his ranks decimated by the elephants in the meantime, and you see the cost is gonna go up. There is no way to stop this. And Trebuchet already out.
Yeah, this is the problem. Like, there's 3 trebs in the field for Puppypaw. He breaches his white tower, and then Vortix is completely bare. He has no defense at that stage. Your TC isn't going to hold long enough. Not against Man-at-Arms, not against Tower Elephants. The choice to go full in Lombos, you never go full Lombos, and now he's learning why. Puppypaw, we talked about the 2-prong moving forward with Tower Elephants. Well, guess what? Vortix finally made it worthwhile, because now, up to 6 elephants, I don't see how Vortix even kills 1.
And you really love the follow-up immediately for Puppypaw. He's not just pushing with elephants and then waiting for the siege to slowly arrive. He already had a trebuchet out here to start shelling that white tower the moment he started his push. He was set up for a siege, not just the push directly against the army. And this is setting him up so well to put up even further aggression without Vortix being able to react. Vortix is just not being given time over here. And it's getting concerning greatly here for Vortix. His entire eco shifted to the left side towards the stealth forest. Still 4 Lancers for Puppypaw to do damage with. If he ever sends a raid in that direction, that's going to cripple Vortix entirely.
He needs so much wood right now that this is problematic. Limited villages repairing, and the Treb mass going up to 4 soon. It's already on fire. I just don't see him holding this. And once that goes down, like the Man-at-Arms, the Knights, as well as the Elephants, get ready to plow in. And keep in mind, Puppypaw behind this also has 4 Mangonels ready. That's enough not just to counter the Lombos, but also the massive spears that you need to now address the Elephants. Wait, what's going on back here? Dude, Puppypaw is like, man, this is so easy. I don't want to use all the trebuchets. Elephant, guard this. We'll call on you. You're the reserve army.
He doesn't want to show his hand, you know, but looks like their trebuchets are finally rolling up. White Tower already on fire, and you have to keep in mind that the other 2 landmarks are right next to it. So Vortix, sense of urgency has to kick in here. He needs to fight soon because he's at the risk of losing all his key landmarks.
He has less than 2 minutes to turn this, actually. He's getting a lot of spears and Man-at-Arms together, but here's the problem. Vortix has an immobile army, and Elephants love that. Tower Elephants just kite you. That's what's going to happen here. He's going to start a step back. He's going to bait him into a choke
Here comes
point.
the flank from the Man-at-Arms, but a volley from the Mangonels!
Spear! Heavy hit to them. Frontline Alliances instantly eviscerated. Wrap around for the Man-at-Arms, try and get on top of the Mangonels. A backup coming out, but the Man-at-Arms of Puppypaw are superior due to the home blades. Skull's tanking in the meantime. Spearman count is shrinking fast, down to 15, but the Tower Elephants are still answered. It's do or die for Vortix. He chooses to do, but he might still die. Mangonels go down. Elephants are going to stabilize, and with no front line, Vortix is going to have to bring out the back line, and he is going to have to bow down to Puppypaw. Landmarks being sniped, Elephants plowing in. This is done. Vortix is out. No way to recover this.
Indeed, towns are now lit on fire. Mangonels are gone, but the Elephants are still standing strong. Only a handful of longbowmen here to try and save the day, but it looks like it's not gonna be sufficient for Vortix. He's going to tap out and give Puppypaw his 2nd victory in the weekly events of EGC Road to Red Bull Wololo. Convincing set once again by Puppypaw. He was very convincing the entire day and finishes this set with a 3-1 victory.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw that game 3 where some questions will be asked, and I'm sure we can ask the questions of them when we get across the interview, where maybe it looked a bit shaky. It kind of looked like Puppypaw was just trying to get a quick finish, but he realizes that Vortix is not going to be a pushover. We come into game number 4, and I've got to give him so much credit. The way he played this, the way he manipulated the map and went for that quick castle timing, completely fumbled the plan for Vortix. I don't think he expected a castle age rush of this timing, but you have to respect the Delhi. When you give them 2 sacred sites, you offer up this opportunity. And the feigned aggression from Vortix is initially good, but the unwillingness to double down and force Puppypaw to invest into more military is what put him so far behind in this game.
And the setup as well for Puppypaw. As you said, it's one thing that you expect this push, but it's not just the fact that Puppypaw pushed with 5 elephants and 6 scholars like we so commonly see. He pushed with a mix of units, waited until he had the own blades upgrade on the Man-at-Arms. He had Lancers flanking to raid, and when he decided to make the push with the keep, he didn't just push with the elephants and the scholars. He had siege supporting it, he had Mangonels against the longbows pushing them back, he had trebuchets to set up immediately to start taking on the white tower. He had the whole package together the moment he needed it. he just gave no time for Vortix to react because he had everything in there and Vortix was lacking significant components of his army to deal with this. In the end, by the time Vortix was able to stabilize, it was too late. The escalation was too big. 5 relics propelling 1Puppypaw to a victory here, and with that takes the set 3-1.